So, how much money do I spend every month to run my six-figure social media marketing agency? That's what we're going to look at today. This has been a highly requested video. I've been asked numerous times about how much I spend and what I actually spend that money on to run the business. So if you stay till the end of this video, I will actually give you the exact amount that we're spending right now to run my business. Before that, we're going to look at the categories and where this money actually goes, because there's no point in me just giving you a figure. You need to understand where the money actually goes so that if you want to start a business like this, you understand where your money is going to go. So it's no secret that a social media marketing agency can be wildly profitable. Your profit margins usually are going to be around 60 to 80% on average. Of course, there are agencies that have 90% and above, and there are agencies that work more towards that 50% margin mark. But if you run a digital marketing agency where you have remote workers all on contracts and no full-time employees, it's very easy to stay within that 60 to 80% range. And this is why I think it's one of the best businesses to start if you don't have a lot of money and you want to start a business that is very cash flow positive. Nowadays, to make money online and to start a business, you don't have to go down that typical route of a startup where you invest like 20, 30, or even 100K just to get it started in the hope of making money. See, with an SMMA business, you basically just put in time, pretty much no money at the start, and then once you start making money, then you just start spending money on a monthly basis to have other people do some of the work. So it's an extremely cash flow positive business, which is why I was super intrigued by this business model before I started my own. Some caveats that I need to mention, okay? We do not have any fixed costs in my agency. We don't have a big office space. We don't have any employees. As I mentioned, we just have contractors, which means they're on contracts month to month. Now, we do have some expenses that are paid on a yearly basis. So although they're not fixed costs, they are on a yearly basis, not on a monthly basis. So obviously I can give you a rough idea of what that looks like if we break down the yearly onto a monthly basis. And apart from that, we have some fees that you're probably not going to experience if you are just starting. We have a team of accountants, we have client managers and people who basically manage most of the business. You're not going to need those when you're starting. When you're just starting off, guys, and you want to outsource some of the work, you're probably just going to hire a graphic designer, video editor, maybe a copywriter, and that's probably it. So with all that out of the way, now we're going to look at the key areas in which we spend money. So those categories where our money actually goes to. Okay, so we're going to start with the most expensive category and the category in which we spend the most money every month. So category one is staff. As I mentioned, we don't have employees. Everyone is on a contract, which gives us a lot of flexibility. If our business completely crumbled overnight, something happened and we had to just completely shut it down, or we decided to shut it down, there wouldn't be any real costs that we would have to incur apart from just paying our staff for that month. Now, I understand if you are seeing this from the perspective of, I would hate to be in your company. Because of that, I totally get that. You know, obviously the people we work with, we make it very clear, they understand that it is a month-to-month commitment with us, and that if we were to let them go, that we would give them notice, right? So we would give them at least 2 to 3 weeks minimum so that they know exactly what's happening. And again, if someone is not comfortable with that, we don't hire them, right? We only hire people where it actually makes sense. So our staff list is comprised of client managers, graphic designers, video editors, copywriters, virtual assistants, and 1 or 2 Instagram account managers. That is pretty much it. It's a lean enough team, and to be honest, a lot of the people that we hire are not highly skilled. So the amounts we pay them per hour might be actually a lot less than a different type of agency. If you were to look at a Facebook ads agency, right, and let's say it's a Facebook ads agency that is doing 7 figures a month, they might have a smaller team, right? There might only be 3 or even 4, maybe even 5 people on the team because of the scalability of that business. But the likelihood is that they're paying each staff member a lot more, right? If they have someone running Facebook campaigns, you're going to pay that person maybe 20, 30, it could be $40 an hour, compared to a graphic designer where it could be anywhere from $3 to $10 per hour. So I will say that is one thing to note with my type of business, because we are heavily focused on content creation and social media. We actually have like a lower cost per hour with our contractors. And so staff literally is the majority of our costs. Okay, so I'm going to get into the other categories now, the other costs that we have to look at on a monthly basis, but staff is going to be it, guys. You know, with an SMMA business, it's a very people focused business, right? That's literally just the nature of the game. Unless you want to do everything yourself, you are going to have to hire people to do the work for you. Now the beauty of it is that, like I said, you can start with no money and you can just pay out once you start making money. Or you could decide, you know what, I'm just going to do all the work myself, and you're completely happy with that, then cool, good for you. It's just, I can almost guarantee you that if you go in with that approach, you'll be okay with that for a few months, right? And then once you start making 5, 6, 7K a month, you'll be like, you know what, actually I want more free time. I want to be able to build a bigger company. And from that, you'll probably start hiring people. So category number 2 is softwares and platforms. Okay, so this is the second biggest expense in our company. Some of these are paid on a yearly basis, quite a few actually. For example, we paid for Slack and we paid for ActiveCampaign on a yearly basis. So we paid them probably anywhere from like 1 to 3K, and that was for an entire year of their service. So some of these we're not paying out on a monthly basis, but most of them we are. And if I was to go back in time, guys, I probably wouldn't actually pay for them on a yearly basis again. The reason being is that ActiveCampaign is something we still use and we are going to still use. Slack is something that we could have actually gotten rid of for our clients because we started paying for a different software, which allowed us to also have communication with our clients and a project management tool all in one. So lesson learned on that one. Next time I would not pay in full and I would not pay for an entire year. Unless you are like certain that you're going to use it. But we were certain we would use Slack, and literally 2 months later we were like, oh, we'll keep using it because we paid for it, but like we probably didn't need to. So some of the softwares that we pay for, I'll just give you some. I have a bit of a list here. So Slack, like I mentioned, is one. ActiveCampaign, both on yearly plans. Go Visually, which if you don't know what that is, it's for reviewing content with your clients to make that process super easy. We use Zoom for our calls. We pay for that. We pay for Calendly, which allows us to book our calls. We use ClickFunnels for our website and also for some funnels that we have within my agency. And apart from that, guys, there's a couple extra things like Free Pick, which gives us like royalty-free stock images that we can use in our designs. We pay for Canva Pro for our team. There's a couple extra bits, but those are the main ones. Now, the final and third category is what I would call kind of like extra expenses. Okay, so we've got tax, we've got accountants, and then we've got fees when we actually get paid. Okay, so we use Stripe for probably 95% of our payments, if not all of them at this stage. And with Stripe, you get charged a fee for every transaction. Now, the fee is going to depend on where your customer is paying from and where your bank account is located that's connected to Stripe. So there's a couple of factors. I can't give you just like a flat rate that it's going to cost you. For example, if we were to get a payment of $1,000, that might actually be $970 that we get into our bank account, or it could be $950, or it could be $980. It does fluctuate. It does really depend on where that person is based. That may not seem like a lot, but it actually is. You know, for example, let's say your average payment is $1,000 and you keep $970 of that, right? You're losing, I think that's about 3% on each transaction. So that's fine. But if you were doing, let's say 100K a month in your business, you'd actually be losing $3,000, which is quite a lot of money. So for us, we don't lose quite $3,000. We probably lose 1.5K per month on fees, but it's worth it because it saves a ton of time. It automates a lot of the process. And we know that if all of our clients had to manually pay us via bank, there'd be many of them that would just forget to do it and it would just cause a whole headache. So it's crazy to think that we've probably paid Stripe like 20 grand or more. Obviously, as I mentioned, we've got an accountant. So for us, I think it's anywhere really from 1 to 200 euro per month. We had like a pretty good deal where it's on like a 12-month contract. So I would say most times it's going to be a little bit more expensive than that. And then of course you've got tax. So tax, it obviously depends where you're based. You know, you might pay that monthly, you might pay it yearly, really depends. But that's obviously something that you need to be aware of. If you're making 10K a month in your business, right, and let's say you have 2K in expenses, you've got 8K left over, you know, not all of that is going to go straight to your personal bank account straight away. You've calculated roughly how much of that is going to be paid in tax so that when it comes time to pay tax, you're not completely stuck. So those are the three categories. We've got staff, softwares, and then the extra expenses. Now, you're probably wondering, how much do we spend on each of those? And I can't give you exact figures because it varies, right? This time last year, it was very different. And in a year's time from now, it's probably going to be completely different as well. I'll give you a rough percentage point so that will give you a rough idea of what this looks like. Our expenses now are probably about 30% of our revenue, okay? So if we pull in 100K in a month, that's 30 grand in expenses. If we pull in 50K a month, it's probably going to be about 15 grand in expenses. That's roughly the figure. Again, fluctuates. Some months it's way higher, some months it's way lower. Really depends. Okay, we had a couple months where we paid in full for those extra softwares, and you know that could have been anywhere from an extra 2 to 5K just on those softwares. And so of course that's going to dramatically bump up our expenses. Okay. Now, if you are just starting off on your journey or you only just have a few clients, you should be aiming for about that 70% margin. This is what I recommend to nearly all of the students that I work with, because for me, 70% just makes sense, right? It's not too high where you're cutting corners, but it's not too low where you're being super messy and you're just not collecting profit where you should be collecting profit. Okay, 70 is a healthy number, profitable, but it's also enough that you can pay your team adequately to make sure they're motivated and that they'll actually stay with you. So that's a wrap, guys. That is how much we spend to run my social media marketing agency. I'd love to hear your feedback. Is it more or less than you expected? Drop that down below. And of course, if you want more videos like this, where I go a little bit behind the scenes, show you the ins and outs and the inner workings of my business, go ahead, drop a like below, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you want to learn more from me, you can go ahead and apply to join the Six-Figure Accelerator program. This is where I work one-to-one with my students to help them build their own wildly profitable SMMA business. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, go down below, click the link, and we'll have a chat. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.